I wouldn't wish this on no one at all. It's pretty rough out here. Sometimes it gets good, sometimes it gets worse, sometimes it gets dangerous. Sometimes when people come through and the cold has gotten a little bit too much. My former lifestyle was very...
Welcome, Homeless Life Stories.
We quietly step into the dim corners of America, listening to the whispers of lives pushed to the margins. It is an August morning in 2025 in Fresno, California. Gentle sunlight filters through the last remaining almond trees from fields that once nourished the entire nation. Beneath them, along Highway 99, makeshift tents stand in fragile rows, sheltering more than 4,628 people, battling the brutal realities of life without a home. According to the most recent point-in-time count on January 28th, conducted by more than 300 volunteers, homelessness in Fresno and Madera has risen by 3% compared to last year. Most notably, unsheltered homelessness increased by about 10%, leaving many to sleep outdoors, exposed to blazing summer heat and bone-chilling winter nights. Among them are middle-aged parents trying to shield children in aging cars and seniors over 60 struggling in worn-out wheelchairs. They have not only lost homes, they have lost the last threads of hope as fentanyl, a cheap white powder whispering death, turns daily pain into an unending nightmare. If these images reach your heart and make you pause to reflect on fragile lives, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Homeless Life Stories for more unfiltered stories from across America. Your support helps this channel grow and builds a community that listens and acts. Fresno, once called the land of agricultural dreams with more than 1.2 million acres of farmland, is now a city where each tent tells a story of quiet collapse. A single mother, barely in her 30s, wakes with swollen eyes each morning, trying to cook with whatever food she can gather, while her children press close, dreaming of a real home. An older man who once labored in the fields now sleeps on a park bench, shivering from cold and loneliness. Small details, the musty smell inside tents, the roar of trucks along the highway, the faraway look in someone's eyes searching for warmth, remind us that homelessness is not a choice. It is the result of skyrocketing housing costs, unstable jobs, and fragile support systems too weak to hold those slipping away. They are us, just one misfortune removed. Compassion for them is the first step toward change. Fresno, from prosperity to crisis. So Fresno's vast fields were once symbols of hope, fertile soil feeding not just crops but also the dreams of immigrant laborers across generations. Today, those same fields bear witness to the quiet collapse of the very people who sustained them. With a population of more than 542,000 in 2025, Fresno was once celebrated as an agricultural paradise, where low living costs allowed working families to buy modest homes, raise children, and envision brighter futures. Those days now feel like distant history. Homeless Life Stories has walked Fresno's streets, listening to the voices of those who once worked tirelessly in the fields, only to now survive in tents or aging vehicles, waking each morning to a silent struggle. Picture a middle-aged father, skin tanned from years of sun, sharing a meager meal with his children in a park corner. His eyes betray the anguish of failing to provide the home he once promised. Or an elderly woman in her 70s who once picked fruit to feed her family, now hunched roadside with a worn bag holding her life's remnants. These small details, the wind rattling thin tent walls, the damp scent of soil from nearby fields, the faint smile when a passerby stops to ask, are what Homeless Life Stories seeks to capture. Proof that behind every statistic lies a real life, worthy of dignity and support.
Our Alexandre Balakian joining us live at City Hall tonight. And Alexandre, the author of the local law, says that he plans to maybe make some changes here.
According to California Housing Partnerships Affordable Housing Needs Report 2025, nearly 1/3 of Fresno households are cost-burdened, paying more than 30% of their income for rent, leaving them one step away from homelessness. Preliminary point-in-time data show Fresno's homeless population up 10% from last year, with more than 2,000 women and children among the most vulnerable. As we move from memories of prosperity to today's harsh realities, it is clear Fresno's crisis is no accident. It stems from the widening gap between living costs and wages, pushing thousands into a spiral with no escape. Compassion for them is not a fleeting emotion, but a reminder that change begins with listening and action. Fresno's double storm. On Fresno's streets, fentanyl has become a second storm, creeping into homeless lives like a toxic invitation, promising to numb pain while delivering only despair. This synthetic opioid, 50 to 100 times stronger than morphine, is cheap to produce and easily laced into counterfeit pills, turning every dose into a gamble with death. Homeless Life Stories has seen this firsthand. Data from the California Department of Justice shows that between April 2022 and May 2025, more than 15.6 million fentanyl pills were seized statewide, with Fresno County a major hotspot, contributing to 530 fentanyl arrests. These numbers reflect real suffering. Danny, a 33-year-old we met along Highway 99, once addiction stole it all. Now his body is frail, scarred from years of use, his eyes clouded from sleepless nights. "I know I need to stop, to get into rehab, to leave these streets," he whispers, his voice trembling, a fragile plea for hope amid despair. The details, his shaky hands holding a cup, his labored breathing, remind us that Danny, like countless others, deserves compassion and a second chance. As fentanyl weaves into the homelessness crisis, Fresno finds itself trapped in a double storm. Drugs are not only symptoms but accelerators, pulling people deeper into darkness. CDC data shows fentanyl overdoses in California rose an average of 20% annually from 2022 to 2025, with Fresno County recording more than 200 emergency cases in the first quarter of this year.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Near Chinatown's industrial streets, where encampments shelter over 1,000 unsheltered people, we met Steve and Robbie, companions who have lived unhoused for 9 years. Steve, 63, with silver hair and a hoarse voice from cold nights, recounted assaults and robberies. Robbie, 28, with a wistful smile, described busking and collecting recyclables to get by. "We just want a safe place, a chance to live without fear each night," Steve said, holding Robbie close like family. Moments like these, a battered guitar strumming against the rush of traffic, or two friends sharing a modest meal, ignite compassion, reminding us that behind every bond like Steve and Robbie lies a story of resilience, deserving to be heard and supported. As we shift from individual stories to broader consequences, it becomes clear that fentanyl not only destroys lives, but fractures communities, making the path out of homelessness more elusive than ever. Compassion is the flame that drives us to act against this harsh reality. The fentanyl nightmare. As the fentanyl storm sweeps through Fresno, it is not just an invisible threat, but a darkness creeping into every street corner and makeshift tent, deepening the wounds of the unhoused. This opioid, dozens of times more potent than morphine, turns counterfeit pills into lethal traps, pulling users rapidly into addiction that is nearly impossible to escape. Homeless Life Stories ventured into encampments near Chinatown, where more than 1,500 people, according to the Fresno County Social Services Report of 2025, live without clean water or basic sanitation. Each day is a struggle to preserve dignity. We met Maria, a 42-year-old single mother, once employed as a cashier until soaring housing costs pushed her onto the streets. With fierce determination in her eyes, Maria describes nights spent clutching her 2 children inside a tent, singing lullabies to drown out the roar of Highway 41, dreaming of a day when she can send them to school without worrying about where they will sleep. "I don't want them to think this is forever," she says, her voice breaking but carrying a flicker of hope. Her story shows how fentanyl not only destroys health but also shatters fragile opportunities for reintegration. Mason Ciprimonor, data from the Fresno Community Health Center reveals that in 2025, only 25 detox beds are available at any given time, while more than 600 people remain on waiting lists each month. In another corner of the Ventura encampment, we met James, a 58-year-old veteran once proud to serve his country, now relying on fentanyl to dull the psychological scars of war. With a warm, steady voice, James tells of afternoons playing chess with other unhoused friends, seeking small joys in dark days. "I want to get clean, to be myself again," he says, gripping an old medal, his tired body betraying the hope shining in his eyes. These fleeting moments, the rare laughter during a chess match, or Maria stroking her child's hair, prove that, even in the shadows, humanity and resilience remain. They are worthy of compassion and real support. As we move from these personal stories to the wider impact of fentanyl and homelessness, it becomes clear that Fresno faces a battle demanding both empathy and concrete action. What could help people like Maria or James find their way back to stability? The ripple effects. When fentanyl and homelessness intertwine in Fresno, the consequences ripple beyond individuals, weakening entire communities. Once bustling streets now seem emptier, as local businesses report revenue drops averaging 25% in 2025 due to safety and sanitation concerns, according to a Fresno Chamber of Commerce survey. Homeless Life Stories observed the strain on community health services, with more than 400 addiction emergencies recorded in just the first quarter of 2025 at the regional community hospital. We met Fatima, a 35-year-old woman who has been unhoused for 3 years, forced into sex work on darkened streets to afford drugs and survive. Speaking softly but with determination, Fatima shared her daily risks and exploitation, yet held on to hope for a day she could overcome addiction, find stable work, and have a real home. "I don't want this forever. I dream of a normal life, one where I can care for myself," she says, her eyes shining despite exhaustion. These details, the trembling hand gripping an old bag, the faint smile while describing her dream, evoke deep compassion, reminding us that Fatima, like so many others, deserves timely support and a chance to rise. The broader effects also overwhelm social services. Shelters are chronically over capacity, forcing many back to the streets after short-term stays. Data from Fresno Housing shows only 450 shelter beds available nightly in 2025, while demand is more than double. Families and individuals often wait weeks for help. What could help someone like Fatima find faster, more reliable support within the community? As we shift from these daily consequences to policy responses, it becomes clear Fresno needs sustainable solutions to ease the burden and bring hope to those trapped in this cycle. Policies and challenges. In Fresno, where fentanyl and homelessness create a complex spiral, local policies struggle to balance public order with helping those in greatest need, and often fall short. According to a 2025 Fresno Police Department report, more than 180 citations related to public camping were issued, with average fines reaching $750.00. For many unhoused individuals, these penalties deepen hardship while they search for safe shelter. Homeless Life Stories heard this in conversations with a father in his 40s who described moving his family's tent repeatedly, only to return to the same corners with no other options. "I just want a place where my kids can sleep in peace," he said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. The small details, the overstuffed backpack of daily essentials, the anxious glance toward his children, remind us that behind every policy are real lives needing support, not punishment. 1.2 million. To use the combo, there are quarters behind every quarter. On a more hopeful note, Fresno is pursuing long-term solutions, using state and federal funds to purchase and convert old motels into temporary housing. Fresno Housing, with a staff of 18 specialists, stabilized more than 250 families in 2025, though demand continues to outpace resources. We met a young mother, once unhoused, now in temporary housing through this program. With a relieved smile, she told us, "It gave me hope to start again." The laughter of her children in their small room, the peace of having a roof overhead, these moments deepen compassion and show the value of practical support. As we consider these policies and challenges, Fresno reminds us that homelessness is rarely a choice. Flexible, compassionate solutions are essential to restore hope. Is homelessness a choice? Digging deeper into Fresno's policies and struggles, one question often surfaces. Is homelessness a personal choice, a surrender of responsibility, or the outcome of systemic gaps? Homeless Life Stories listen closely on the streets. Data from the National Homelessness Alliance shows that more than 65% of unhoused people in Fresno attempted to access housing services but faced barriers, long waiting lists, or paperwork they no longer had. These numbers reveal fragile realities. A 50-year-old father, once a factory worker, now sleeps on a park bench, not because of laziness, but because unexpected medical bills drained all his savings. "I didn't choose this. I just want a chance to stand again," he said, his voice low with fatigue, yet filled with quiet strength. Or consider a young mother with calloused hands from collecting recyclables, describing nights spent sleeping in a car with her child, dreaming of stability, but pushed back by complex requirements. The small details, a child's cry echoing in the night, the forced smile when accepting donated food, remind us that homelessness is often the result of unforeseen crises, not voluntary choice. Zooming out, Fresno reflects a national issue. Support systems often lack the flexibility to catch those who are falling. What could change the way we see and support the unhoused? These stories challenge our assumptions, encouraging compassion and collective action to bring genuine hope. A national perspective and solutions. As Fresno struggles to patch systemic gaps, we must widen our lens. This city is but one fragment of a larger national crisis. Rising housing costs, stagnant wages, and insufficient services leave millions vulnerable. Homeless Life Stories has followed these trends across cities. HUD data shows national homelessness rose 18% from 2023 to 2024. California's increase was smaller, just 3%, yet the state still faces more than 180,000 unhoused people. Fresno exemplifies this reality, with over 4,628 individuals counted in the preliminary 2025 point-in-time survey. Behind the statistics are human stories. A mother in her 40s, once a dedicated retail worker, now lives in her car with her children. She strives to maintain normalcy with modest meals and restless nights. "I don't want my kids to think this is the only life," she said, her voice filled with resolve. From local realities to broader solutions, perhaps what's needed is a comprehensive national plan, similar to the Marshall Plan after WI. A coordinated federal, state, and local effort could build millions of affordable units, expand health care and addiction treatment, and treat housing as a basic right rather than a privilege. According to the National Low-Income Housing Coalition's 2025 report, the U.S. faces a shortage of over 7.3 million affordable homes for low-income households. Only with sustained commitment can we break the cycle. Stories like this mother's remind us that hope is born of collective action, creating stability for those trapped in the dark. What impact could such a plan have on the lives of countless Americans? A time to pause and reflect. As Fresno faces the intertwined storms of homelessness and fentanyl, the city serves as a stark reminder to America. Ignoring shadows only allows them to spread. Homeless Life Stories has recorded these stories to awaken compassion, but now it's time to act. Data from Fresno's social services in 2025 shows programs meet only 40% of shelter demand, leaving over 3,000 people outdoors each night. We met a young woman who once dreamed of becoming a teacher, now wandering Fresno's streets seeking safety in hidden corners. "I just want a place where I can feel like myself," she said, her voice full of fragile hope. Moments like these, eyes shining despite hardship or a smile while receiving a meal, remind us that compassion must move beyond emotion into action. Donating, volunteering, or advocating for housing initiatives. Fresno is not just a local story. It is a mirror of what happens when profit is prioritized over people. What could you do today to help someone rediscover hope? As we close this journey, Fresno's stories invite us to reflect on the value of empathy and action, ensuring no one is left in the shadows.